What is up, everybody? We are talking about Bellator 265. It is Kongo versus Kharitonov, the full card predictions and betting tips. I'm excited to break this card down with a nice little late night live stream. Appreciate all my people for tuning into this show, whether live or on replay. Much love to you guys. Smash that like button. I need at least 150 likes on this Bellator full card breakdown. If you're new to the channel, subscribe here too. We're covering Bellator, UFC, PFL, all high-level mixed martial arts, and we get some good Bellator action this week. I'm excited to break the card down. The main event's fun at the top. Some OG heavyweights, Kharitonov and Kongo. And then some up-and-coming prospects definitely throughout the main card. But we will start it early on in the night, all the way down at the bottom. Jeff Nielsen versus Kory Moegenburg. Okay, so this fight is definitely more on, the lower levels of MMA, up-and-coming / developing guys. You have a debuting Jeff Nielsen versus Kory Moegenburg. Now, odds-wise, Nielsen coming in as a favorite. Reason being, the guy has a collegiate wrestling background. He's very good with his takedowns. He's good with his top control. He's an athletic fighter. Good amateur background, just one loss. It was a submission. On the other side, you have Kory, inactive, does not fight on a regular basis. When was his last fight? It was 2 years and 6 months ago. Prior to that, it was 2 years. Then it was 5 years ago. So he fought his pro debut so many years back. So just long layoffs, I feel, are never a good thing. But I do know that he is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, I believe, at his team. The head coach there for Jiu-Jitsu has a pretty decent grappling game, is a southpaw. I think he could be tricky when the fight hits the floor. But Jeff Nielsen is used to competing. He's what? 2 years, 11 months ago, he had an amateur Bellator fight, and it's been consistent ever since. His last fight was about 3 months ago. I think that Jeff Nielsen should probably work towards a win here, potentially via decision. Is there potential that Moegenburg caught him with something? Yes, and it would be on the ground, and it would be by submission. That's the likelihood chance of Kory winning. That's the most likely chance. It would be some type of submission on the wrestler. But I just don't think it's super realistic here. Nielsen minus 398, Moegenburg plus 342. Over 1.5, under 1.5. Fight ends inside distance. We'll talk about props and whatnot in this week's best MMA bets in depth. As far as this fight, though, maybe sprinkle prop like a submission by Moegenburg, but I don't really feel it's all that worth it. It's the first fight of the night for Bellator. I'd more advise towards skipping the bet. I think Jeff Nielsen should win here. Moegenburg maybe on the ground has a chance, but we'll ride Jeff Nielsen decision victory in his pro debut. Next fight of the night, Bailey Schoenfelder versus Kevin Childs. With Bailey, he comes from a football background, actually, and with that athleticism, transferred over to mixed martial arts. Now, I do know he trains over at Sanford MMA, definitely developing some pretty quality prospects there. Solid striking skill set from what I've seen, but definitely developing. Solid straight punch knockout in his debut, though. It was like 20 seconds, so we haven't seen a ton. You can watch someone hit pads and whatnot, but that doesn't tell the whole story. We'll see when he gets in there with Kevin Childs, who was not a great amateur. 1-1 pro record, with that loss coming against a fighter with a 1-4 record. Definitely seems susceptible to takedowns, going to be susceptible to straight punches down the line potentially, but Childs does have some boxing experience. We'll see what Bailey can do here. He's a collegiate athlete transitioning to MMA. Kevin Childs is a low-level MMA fighter, but he does have more experience as a fighter. Now, I don't think it's super likely that Childs goes out there and wins the fight. I'll ride Bailey for the W, but not one that you want to bet down, because it's really unknown prospect versus, scrappy heavyweight journeyman who's, developing. I mean, yeah, he's 1-1, so I guess you can't call him a journeyman yet, but he has a losing record as an amateur as well. Childs is a big dog, plus 587. You can find Bailey over at minus 763. I do predict he wins by KO TKO in the first round, but a no bet here, especially at the ugly odds that we're seeing for this second fight of the night. But let's jump on up, third fight of the night, and it's just kind of continuing this lower level MMA train on the Bellator prelims. I don't hate it. Bellator's done this for a long time, but for a bit it seemed they were getting away from this. Now they've gone back, but I understand they need to fill their cards, and maybe they find some good prospect on the undercard here for Bellator. We have Dwayne Johnson versus Deven Fisher, not The Rock, but he does use The Rock as his nickname. I don't really like that you're copying a legendary figure like The Rock. I don't think it's a great nickname. I think you should have switched it up, something more creative, be his own, but it is what it is. Let me tell you first about Deven Fisher. Long layoff for this kid. Now, when he was fighting, he had a pretty okay kickboxing skill set, decent low kicks. Grappling seems to be a hole in his game. On the other side, Dwayne Johnson actually has pretty good top pressure and his grappling skills are solid, but more of a Thai style of striker. Does have some nice teeps up the center, pressure forward style. I think that he's definitely going to beat Deven Fisher here. I mean, Deven Fisher has a 4-8 record as a pro. Dwayne Johnson 5-2. It's a clear mismatch. It's a clear opponent fight where Dwayne should be victorious, but I don't think it's super easy. I think it's victory by decision for Dwayne Johnson. You can see some of the recent bouts. It was Austin Hubbard, who's now in the UFC, Deron Wynn, who's now in the UFC. Fisher's been in there with some all right fighters, but seems to get controlled on the ground. So this fight, I do think he could potentially be on his back, but potentially more striking too. And Dwayne Johnson and him could definitely go at it. I see Dwayne, though, still edging it out. Minus 450, minus 445, minus 333. Deven Fisher at plus 358. No bet here. Another one I don't like. These early prelim fights are high risk MMA. Essentially, not even main card of PFL, or main card of LFA level at this point. So we'll see what these guys bring. But betting wise, I'm more leaning towards saying no mas on that. No bet here. Archie Colgan versus Ben Simmons. Fight here, welterweight division. Undefeated prospect, 2-0 versus Ben Simmons, who is 3-2 as a professional. Another one, lower level. Simmons is a pretty inactive fighter, but when he did fight, Thai boxing skill set, very pressure forward style of striking, decent hands as well. On the other side, though, Simmons is a beast of a wrestler. He's very athletic. He's fast with his hands, and he closes distance well to set up his wrestling, finds himself on top, and he controls position, attacks with submissions and ground and pound. Should get the finish here. I'll pick Archie Colgan, win by submission, round number 2, and I think you should definitely run through the much taller Ben Simmons here. Now, odds-wise, Simmons, plus 555. Colgan, minus 900, minus 800 at best value. I like Archie Colgan definitely for the win here. Ugly odds, but I do think it's a very confident prediction in Colgan, though. Young, developing guy, definitely more of a high-risk bet on any of these early prelim fights. Even if, they do end up being right, which I think there's a high likelihood they will, still not supremely high-level mixed martial artist out there, which shit can definitely go wrong. You can lose your money if you're playing more the betting side. Mike Hamel, Bryce, Logan, our next fight of the night. I think this heats things up a bit. I think these guys are both pretty solid lightweights. Hamel's record's not great, but he actually has a pretty good skill set. Logan, 12-5 as a pro, coming off a tough loss to Georgi Karakhanyan. Hamel is a fast starting southpaw with beastly wrestling. He gets top position. He can control. He attacks with ground and pound. I like the skill set from him. He had a very good fight against Ádám Borics. On the other side, Bryce Logan, stance switching striker, decent kicks from range and pretty decent straight left hand, and he'll like switch stances as he throws it. He likes to fight inside the pocket. Also brings in some decent wrestling of his own. But I feel like Hamel's being slept on here as far as odds wise. Hamel's sitting at plus 170, plus 175, plus 180 even. I like Hamel to win this fight by a decision over Bryce Logan. I feel like Hamel's pretty tenacious. He fights well inside. He's explosive. He's fast. And I think he'll find a way to edge out Logan by a decision on the scorecards here. I'm going with the underdog, Mike Hamel, in this matchup to win against Bryce Logan here. Interesting fights as we get up, to the higher level prelims and then the main card. Next one though, Fabio Aguiar versus Taylor Johnson. Man, Johnson emerged on the scene with a pretty good win. He ended up beating Ed Ruth. It was a heel hook. It was quick, and Ed Ruth was supposed to be, that hot prospect wrestler. Taylor Johnson's nasty on the ground, slick Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's dangerous off of his back, but his striking is also pretty good. He's a powerful fighter who starts quickly. Athletic striking style. He's going to close distance. He's going to throw overhands. He'll use that to get inside. He'll take you down against the cage. He'll gain top position, unload ground and pound. And as I said, the grappling game also has submissions in it. He's not just a pressure-heavy wrestler. He's also a submission threat. But on the other side of him is a persistent grappler. The man is going to be chain wrestling all night long, looking for takedowns. That is his game, and he has an extremely good Brazilian jiu-jitsu skill set, which Taylor Johnson, that's arguably his advantage against a lot of guys, is his jiu-jitsu. I don't feel like here it's all that much of an advantage. Fabio Aguiar, he built his name on that Brazilian circuit of straight killers where these guys are fighting for money for food, lost to Bruno Silva. But other than that, the guy had great results working his way up. He loses to Khalid, who's a fairly decent fighter, and he still was able to shoot for a lot of takedowns and definitely put on a better performance than people would have expected, and he's a big underdog once again. I feel like styles make fights. Fabio Aguiar sitting at that plus 211 range to Taylor Johnson at minus 239. I like the plus 200 underdog, win by a decision, Fabio Aguiar. I do think that he could beat Taylor Johnson just because of the style matchup. So I like Fabio Aguiar for the victory. So another dog play here. And we're picking him over Taylor Johnson, who I do like. I like Taylor's style, but I think he could run into some trouble here with Fabio. But now we have arrived at the main card. If you guys have not yet, smash the hell out of that like button. Exciting matchup. Technically, it's a 140-pound catch weight, but normally, this would have been a bantamweight division fight between two guys who have very solid skill sets. I feel like striking-wise, we're in store for a quick, technical kickboxing type of fight. Both guys are pretty fast and fight well from range. I feel like Lugo controls the range a bit better, also moves faster laterally, though Lee's got quick hands. He'll switch up the stances. He also has some decent wrestling as well. But I just feel like Lugo has a slight edge skill set-wise over him. But I don't think it's an easy fight. I think it's competitive action for 3 rounds. And I think that Jornel Lugo will slightly edge out Keith Lee. Win by a decision for Jornel Lugo in this matchup. It's the first one on our main card. And I feel it's going to be Keith Lee, odds-wise. Or excuse me, it's going to be Jornel Lugo, not Keith Lee. Keith Lee, though, odds-wise, best value plus 200. Best value for Lugo, minus 172. He's ranging around there. You can't even find him at much bigger in the minus 200s. If you find him in the minus 100 money, definitely a parlay edition. We'll talk parlays up at the end. But I like Jornel Lugo, win by a decision here. I think he's going to beat Keith Lee in this matchup. It's a matchup I am excited for, though. Now, next fight of the night, heavyweight division, something that we should be pretty pumped for. It's a fight that I'm actually excited to see. Marcelo Golm came into the UFC as this dangerous Brazilian heavyweight prospect. Unfortunately, he did not live up to that hype. Ends up losing 3 straight, gets released. Now climbs his way back to the top level of the game, is fighting in Bellator. He's jacked. He's very strong. He fights well with his boxing and has like a tight striking style, likes to keep his hands fairly close to his face. He'll find a way inside and unload massive combinations. Now, on the other side, Billy Swanson is a scrappy striker. He likes to get down and brawl, also does have a decent wrestling game with a lot of pressure, but I don't think that he'll be able to do all that much to Golm, who's competent with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. I think Golm will defend the takedowns. He's definitely been in there with the higher level of fighters. I think victory for Marcelo Golm, and I do think he is a legit prospect here in this Bellator heavyweight division. Championship caliber, I don't know about that level, but still enough so, I think, to potentially make a run and be an interesting guy to have in this weight class. Marcelo Golm, knockout, round number 1 over Billy Swanson here. Odds-wise, let's see what they have him at here. Are there no odds for this fight? Because Golm did have a different opponent earlier on. Let's actually check who that original opponent was real quick. Yeah, it was Kevin Tiller. So that was, decent matchup against a guy who had PFL experience. Whereas Billy Swanson, a lot lower level of competition. But let's see if they have it here. Golm was the favorite against Tiller, as he should have been. Odds are not out right now, but I'm telling you guys, Golm will be more than a minus 300 favorite. He's going to be massively favorited and expected to win, and I do think that's deservingly so. I do think he'll beat Billy Swanson in this matchup. We'll ride Marcelo Golm. Potential play for a parlay for sure. And also, when the prop betting release, which we'll talk about on this week's Best MMA Bets, there's definitely going to be some options with Golm on there. Now, next fight, Dante, Schiro, and Logan Storley. Logan Storley is a beast of a wrestler. I mean, this man fought a Mosov, who's now the champion of the world, brought him to a split decision in a difficult and competitive matchup. I mean, it was super impressive, in my opinion, and I really feel like Logan Storley's wrestling game is going to be some of the hardest to deal with in that 170-pound weight class, maybe excluding a Mosov himself. This guy is right towards the top. Schiro, on the other hand, decent kickboxer, but I've seen him struggle on the ground in the past against guys with a lot lesser wrestling and top-heavy games than Logan Storley. This is going to be domination. I think Logan Storley wins this bout. I think that he probably does pull it off by a decision, but maybe a lopsided one or potentially a late KO, TKO. The odds on this fight are huge. Storley, huge. I don't know why it says plus 5,000 at Sportsbet. It must mean minus 5,000 at Sportsbet for Storley. He is such a big favorite over Schiro. It's not even competitive, and I don't even think it's worth touching on the lines with, but Logan Storley is definitely going to win that fight, and I think he beat Schiro dominantly. Potential late TKO or a decision here, but more so leaning decision. Co-main event of the evening should have all of us excited because you're looking at potential challengers to the current champion at 145, AJ McKee. JJ Wilson, undefeated submission ace with dangerous kickboxing skills. Anywhere on the ground, you're in trouble with this guy. On the other side, though, Ádám Borics is a nasty Thai style of striker. Very technically sound, fights well from range. He's explosive with dynamic knockout power. He's good with his grappling as well. Disappointing loss to Darrion Caldwell. He's now on a 3-fight winning streak and has definitely stepped his game up. On the other side, the Maori kid is unbeaten. Nobody has touched this man yet. Now, odds-wise for this fight, Borics, close money, minus 127. JJ Wilson, slight plus money, plus 115. The man is a dangerous submission ace. The only way Borics has gotten into, true trouble in the past has been on the ground with submissions. I think there's definitely a chance for JJ Wilson here, but the thing that really jumps my confidence is Boric's consistent improvement, over recent periods. I don't think JJ Wilson will be an easy guy to beat, and I think we're in store for a very competitive fight. I feel like JJ is special, though. He's unbeaten right now. I'm going to predict the underdog, JJ Wilson, by a submission, but there's definitely a path to victory for Ádám Borics. It's an extremely competitive fight, and I do believe the odds will be pick'ems by the time the week comes up, or by the time the lines close at the end of the week. I am riding JJ Wilson, but super difficult fight against the dangerous Ádám Borics. May the best man win it, and the future is bright for both of them in this 145-pound Bellator division, which is just stacked at the moment. But all right, guys, we have arrived at the main event, so make sure to smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe here too, covering all things MMA, UFC, Bellator, PFL, breaking it all down. We need at least 150 likes, so smash the hell out of it. And I really do appreciate everybody tuning in live and on replay. Much love to you guys. Let's talk about this main event. It is Cheick Kongo versus Sergei Kharitonov. Now, Kongo is 46. It's unreal that he looks as young as he does, and he's fighting at as competitive as a level that he is. It blows my mind. Now, Kongo's game, especially as he's gotten older, is a little more safety first, a lot of clinch grappling, which he was kind of known for in his past as well. He's going to hold inside. He's going to put you against the cage. He's going to knee your legs. Fights decently with his kickboxing, but the chin is not necessarily suspect, but guys who really sit down in their punches tend to hurt Kongo. Sergei Kharitonov is a powerful striker, does have legit knockout power in his hands, very good kickboxing skill set, solid grappler as well. I don't think he runs into a supreme threat with Kongo's takedown game. Even though Kongo's good against the cage, he's not necessarily a super efficient wrestler, or even with his trips, like not super efficient with that. It's a lot of forward pressure and control. I think that Sergei Kharitonov is a bad matchup. The bookies have Kharitonov, interestingly enough, at the minus 135 favorite to Kongo at best value, the plus 125 dog. I think Sergei Kharitonov is going to knock Cheick Kongo out. He's going to sit on his punches, and he's going to put him to sleep. You look, years back now, Roy Nelson slept him. He was also slept, I believe, by Mark Hunt. You look at those type of styles, Kharitonov not as good as them, but also Kongo a lot older. I think Sergei Kharitonov finds a way to sleep Cheick Kongo. I am riding with him for the victory in this fight. Sergei Kharitonov, KO TKO, round number 1. And he's a slight favorite here. And definitely some potential play on that main event for the excitement. As far as the value of this card, it's a B Bellator card. I don't think it's their A-list card, but it's still giving us some solid fights to watch on a Friday night to get us excited for Saturday's UFC. But I do want to talk some parlays to play. Smash that like button if you haven't yet. Need at least 150 on these full card predictions and betting tips. Much love to everybody tuning in. And let's give you guys some potential plays that we can talk about. We'll have like a way deeper betting breakdown, which is this week's best MMA bets. It will be dropping tomorrow, where I cover Bellator, PFL, and UFC this week. We'll do cross parlays, locks of the night, dogs of the night. So make sure to tune into that if you're really interested in the betting side. But I'm going to throw some parlays at you quickly here, purely for Bellator. All right. Fighters that I feel I want to add onto my line. Do I want to take some risk with these early fights of the night? I really lean myself towards not. Marcelo Golm, whenever he does drop, if he's minus 300, but I guess I can't play that one because that's not accurate. I'd put Golm on the play if it was a $1,000 play. I would also potentially put him down with Lugo, and I could also see myself adding in. So let's just go Lugo for now. Let's also go Fabio Aguiar as a dog, plus 335. See what Wilson is, plus 238 if you added him. Obviously, we think that Storley will win. It'd be minus 165 for Storley. And if we got Kharitonov at the top, plus 172, by the time we add in Golm, I think we can earn ourselves a good amount of dinero this week with some proper bets just purely on Bellator. I'd say this is the $1,000 parlay that we have standing at the moment, because we don't have the Tiller play. But we'll talk about it even more in this week's Best MMA Bets. I'll give you the real $1,000 parlay, the cross parlay that will play across every high-level organization that I genuinely cannot wait for. I'm just waiting for all these props to release as well, which I do believe tomorrow will probably be the day that they all drop. I hope you guys enjoyed this Bellator breakdown. You guys know I always enjoy talking Bellator. We're going to be doing the Fight Companion this week for Bellator, which I genuinely am pretty pumped for. It's always a fun time, and I do think we'll get a good amount of people that are interested in watching it. Smash the hell out of that like button, guys. I'll check up on that live chat real quick. Yeah, super late stream tonight, man. It was a late night show, but definitely a lot of people will be catching it on the replay tomorrow. Does Kongo still have it? He still has something, but I think that he gets put to sleep here. Shout out to everybody who watched live, though. Much love to you guys. And thank you to the late night tune-ins over here. I mean, depending where you are, it could be early morning for you. But much love, guys. Smash that like button. I need at least 150 likes. Stay tuned. We got more content coming on all week. This week's best MMA bets coming up shortly. That's going to be sick. It'll probably be, which would be, I guess now today, the 18th of August. Probably be dropping it somewhere around 7 to 9 o'clock at night. You'll see it posted up on the channel. But much love, guys. Thank you all so much. Smash that like button. Appreciate all the continuous support. Subscribe if you guys are new here as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a great night, guys.